The Unitarian Church in Quincy, Illinois is proud to present the following readings and talk titled, Hope is a Thing with Feathers, presented by NICHOLS. The following recording was originally recorded on January 17th of 2021, live via Zoom.
The readings are based on touchstone themes from the January 2021 series that we subscribe to as a church. And the theme this month is consolation and desolation. Quite appropriate, hey? Dr. King's words were chosen because of what has happened during the course of 2020, culminating in the events of last week. And so now Mike Flanagan will share this reading.
There is hardly anything more obvious than the fact that evil is present in the universe. It projects its nagging, prehensile tentacles into every level of human existence. We may debate over the origin of evil, but only the person victimized with a superficial optimism will debate over its reality. Evil is with us as a stark, grim, and colossal reality. We need only to look out into the wide arena of everyday life. We have seen evil in tragic lust and inordinate selfishness. We have seen it in high places where men are willing to sacrifice truth on the altars of their self-interest.
Today's readings and the talk is being delivered by Carol Nichols. Several members and friends of our church will be doing supporting readings that she has chosen for this presentation. And Alan DeYoung will start the presentation with this reading now.
The evil deny the suffering of their guilt, the painless awareness of their sin, inadequacy, and imperfection by casting their pain onto the other through projection and scapegoating. They themselves may not suffer, but those around them do. The evil cause suffering. The evil create for those under their dominion a miniature sick society. Think of the psychic energy required for the continued maintenance of the pretense so characteristic of the evil. They perhaps direct at least as much energy into their devious rationalization and destructive compensations as the healthies do into loving behavior. Why? What possesses them and drives them? Basically, it is fear. They are terrified that the pretense will break down and they will be exposed to the world and to themselves. They are continually frightened that they will come face to face with their own evil. Of all emotions, fear is the most painful.
Good morning, everyone. It is with a heavy heart that I share this time with you today. As a church body, we are poised between yesterday and Monday. On Saturday, we honored the passing of Ted and Sandy, beloved, gentle, giving, long-enduring members of the congregation. And tomorrow, we honor the legacy of a great American hero, Dr. King, whose work is hardly done, especially given the ugly ascent of white racism, so hurtfully witnessed over the past years, and especially during the last week. On the evening of November 8th, 2016, I spent part of the evening at Liza and Jim Hayashi's home, dressed in an all-white pantsuit with the lapel adorned by the suffragettes' yellow rose. I began the evening in timid hope, but I left early, clearly devastated. I curled up on my couch, glued to the TV screen all night. Slowly, a dreadful nightmare became reality. Little did I realize the extent of that nightmare turned real. I had no idea that 4 years later, we'd have nearly 400,000 Americans dead, a healthcare system beaten down with incredible exhaustion, parent and child torn apart at our southern border, an economy in tatters, a vital, phenomenal election falsely disputed, the environment treated as a corporate profit arena, and an insurrection at the Capitol, fomented by what many consider evil incarnate. In the beginning, I feared the demise of a few major cities on the West Coast from a North Korean nuclear strike, thinking this might be the worst possible result of that person's election. I cannot name him. He was supported by those who value power and protection of privilege given to some at a cost paid by others. He was supported by others whose most important motivator was not being forced to share. Supported by those who thought that a flawed, amoral champion with a bulldog attitude came with the bargain price of neglecting human compassion. And that price was worth everything, even the demise of their religiously informed souls. He is my naked lesson in the reality of what people will do when they believe what they now have will be threatened by those who don't deserve to have as much, by the poor, but the poor, the neglected, and those who are victims of injustice and racism become more articulate and poignant. They are driven by need, driven by senseless police brutality, and worst of all, God forbid, they were driven, righteously mobilized, and legitimately registered to vote. We have been led by selfishness, people who do harm as easily as breathing, people who lie, steal, lust after what they want more of, and worst of all, we see clearly people who are hurt by those who have followed so willfully and blindly. Treachery is of all sins committed by evil the hardest to bear. Religious views so long thought to be protected by leaders like the current president have been soiled by racism, injustice, sexism, power, and a collection of greedy achievements. These leaders didn't give a thought to any serious expression of human compassion or religious belief. They have betrayed so many. Hit me with the truth as often as you like. Point out my faults. I've got plenty of them. Aim me where, in all decency, I should be going. Browbeat me into common consideration. The truth will out. If you are right, the truth is on your side. I ought to recognize where I have been harmful, selfish, lying, covetous. My faults are not relative when they harm others that for my benefit alone. My faults are undeniably evil, undeniably absolute. But the truly evil, cannot see their own culpability. The hardest part of the lesson I began to learn over the 4 years is that killers, defecators, bullies, brandishers of lies and violence, self-interested leaders, whatever their cause or supposed cause, do not believe in their own fault. They run from it, they deny it, plaster it on wherever it sticks. But here is an even harder lesson. Listen, those of us who see evil, who recognize it for what it is, are just like people we dislike if we hate them with reciprocating and equal intensity. I asked Georgia House to read the second reading.
We should begin by removing the greatest hindrances to compassion, anger, and hatred. As we all know, these are extremely powerful emotions, and they can overwhelm our entire mind. Nevertheless, they can be controlled. If, however, they are not, these negative emotions will plague us, and it takes no extra effort on their part. And they will impede our quest for a loving mind. Here, though, we must examine our mental state carefully. While it is true that anger brings extra energy, if we explore the nature of this energy, we discover it is blind. We cannot be sure its result will be positive or negative. And this is because anger eclipses the best part of our brains, its rationality. Compassion is by nature gentle, peaceful, soft, but it is very powerful. It is those who easily lose their patience who are insecure and unstable. Thus, to me, the arousal of anger is a direct sign of weakness, as spoken by the Dalai Lama.
Thank you, Georgia. Hit me with the truth as often as you like. We cannot move beyond this miasma, this stinking environment of self-sustaining destruction, unless we do the impossible, the unfathomable. We cannot give in to hate. I repeat, we cannot give in to hate. To hate is to give into desolation at its worst. You cannot protect what you love by leading with destruction. The tools of evil, the structures, the institutional trappings, hate those things for all you're worth. Root them out, replace them. But to hate the host, the willful carrier of destructive powers, is to hate a void that sucks us down into the deepest destruction of society. There is no tearing down to build up again. There is only the slow, humbling, painful, and exquisitely fulfilling work of filling the gaping void done by evil. Get used to it. Begin by slowing down the smoke that billows out of your ears when you see people on the tube. Tamp down the anger that rises from the wellspring of justice when you read drivel, or face someone who leads with unabashed, uninformed propaganda and swears by its false pretensions of truth. You are fighting a ghost, a dementor. Remember those beasts from Harry Potter? Something living inside the person facing you and something inside yourself. Writing, speaking, spouting what your heart and your head tell you is false beyond a shadow of a doubt. That ghost, that dementor, will suck out your own soul if you give in. You will become what it is that confronts you. Begin now. Be brave. Smile at the man. Keep your third finger down. Bide your time, and then think about exactly what evil is and how to proceed safely and effectively. Now I welcome Alan Starkey to give the fourth reading.
Evil needs to be understood for what it is, the dynamic of the absence of light. It is not something that one should prepare to battle, to run from, or to outlaw. Understanding evil as the absence of light automatically requires that we reach for this thing called light. The remedy for an absence is a presence. Evil is an absence, and therefore it cannot be healed with an absence. By hating evil, or one who is engaged in evil, you will contribute to the absence of light and not to its presence. Hatred of evil does not diminish evil, it increases it. If you strike without compassion against the darkness, you yourself enter the darkness. Understanding evil allows you to look with compassion upon those who engage in evil activities, even as you challenge their activities, and thus protecting yourself from the creation of negative karma. This is from Gary Zukav, The Seed of the Soul.
Thank you, Alan. Good God, where do we begin? I have never been able to rub two sticks together and then step away from a roaring welcoming fire. Never. How do I carefully start to rebuild? It is not as simple as picking up shards of glass, shampooing the urine off the Capitol's carpets, cutting down the lynched bodies of thousands of young men, burying our COVID dead. It is a persistence, an insistence, person by person, door by door, that yes, you have the right to vote. You have a right to be what gender you choose. You have a right to seek refuge. Yes, you have a right to be the best, to have the best from our educational system. Yes, you have a right to be taken care of when you are old and sick or homeless or simply need a glass of water. A right to your own self-worth, not measured by the color of your skin, your nationality, your religion, and yes, your work is worth at least a minimum living wage. For all these affirmations, it is a simple matter of how to proceed, step by step, small change by small change, a word here, a word there, a basic act of kindness, unsolicited. Patiently, we begin to fill the void. The evil has left. Even this monster of broken government might begin to build a good reputation from the lowest level on up. And the nation's gaping chasm of people on one side or the other might be filled. This void, this chasm is left by evil, the void that feeds upon itself when we push hatred at hatred. Healing begins with the smallest gestures, the most neutral of offerings. But be forewarned, what we hold out will fall on resistant soil. We will be rebuffed, viewed with suspicion, but slowly we will be accepted. The human heart abhors a vacuum. This is how to take power away from evil. No matter how bitter the solution seems to our present taste, this is our present task. Because Mary Beth is having some trouble with her audio, I'll go ahead and read her last reading. The whole of Vedanta philosophy is in this story. Two birds of golden plumage sat in the same tree. The one above, serene, majestic, immersed in his own glory. The one below was restless and eating the fruits of the tree. He thought, how bitter, how sweet. Once he ate an exceptionally bitter fruit. Then he paused and looked up at the majestic bird above. But soon he forgot about the other bird and went on eating the fruits of the tree as before. Again, he ate a bitter fruit, and this time he hopped up a few boughs nearer to the bird on the top. This happened many times until at last the lower bird came to the place where the upper bird had been. But there had never been two birds. All this time, he was the upper bird, serene, majestic, immersed in his own glory. Swami Vivekananda. Now I'll finish with a poem by Emily Dickinson. What we need to do if we wish to drive out evil is the work of each one of us at the most personal, innermost level. Wish for this work like the bird who is yearning for the serene, majestic creature he sees in the branches far above his reach. It is hard. It's nearly impossible. But if you hold on to justice, to the right, to truth, this work of love will push evil out, squeezing into a small, insignificant space, shoving it down toward oblivion where evil belongs. Long ago, Emily Dickinson told us simply that this work would not be easy. It requires a stronger hope for things to happen, for evil to be diminished, perhaps banished for a time at least. Believe it or not, The hope of which she speaks is easy to come by. It comes to those who know what it is like to be defeated, to suffer. It is a hope Dr. King knew so well, to be the legacy of Black America to us all. Their history's gift to us all. To be crushed is to have experienced desolation. This is where hope rises as our best consolation. Thank you and bless you all. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. The sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, and yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Emily Dickinson, poem 254. I'll close with a gift to you all. It's a PowerPoint, and it uses the spirit of life. I have many people to thank for this. First of all, Al Beck. Al Beck and I sat down one day after church, a longtime member of our church, and said, you know, that song's too short, only has one verse. So Alan and I sat down, and you know Alan's words, inspiration, intuition. He gave me, and we worked on a 3-verse version of Spirit of Life. And when we were done, I took some of his words, and he didn't really care about meter a lot. And I sort of put them in a meter. And then I gave them to Jerry Wagner. And unfortunately, Jerry became ill and he hadn't finished. He'll give us later another rendition of this. But Jerry took the words and put them syllabically into good meter for singing. And then my dear son gave me another gift. He used his abilities as a Grammy award-winning audio engineer and took what was a really bad recording of mine and put it in the back of this song in this PowerPoint. And for him, I thank him for the one decent recording I'll ever have in my life. So to you is Spirit of Love. Taylor, would you like me to put it up or would you put it up?
That's what we discussed before church. You need to put it up, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
And it's Spirit of Life, and it's all Carol's photos. Is that right, Carol?
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
important.
so I'll go ahead. I'm in screen sharing, so I'll go ahead and put that up for you guys. Just give me a minute.
Make sure you share audio. That's where I get in trouble. That's where I forget to do.
Okay, I've got it. And it's ready to go. And I'll go ahead and do that with my share screen.
Mm-hmm.
Is it on share screen right now?
No.
Okay, I'll take care of it. This is what we learn over time, people. Okay, so now is it share screen?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll go ahead and play it.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of peace, come unto me. Move in my thoughts all the hopes of every nation. Stretch
out my heart, open my eyes, fill me with light as I grow in inspiration. Give us your peace, grant us your grace. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of love, come unto me. Grow in my world all the wonders of creation. Teach me to feel, help me to heal. Fashion my soul, giving love the wings to free me. Sit by my side, be my guide. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.